Hey, this is Robert Plank from graphicdashboard.com and from dfynarration.com. I want to show you about something called generative AI. When you have an image, you can literally, in this day and age with today's technology, draw a box and then give the AI a prompt. Tell it, I want you to add a birthday cake in this photo. I want you to add the stars and the moon. I want you to add a dog or a cat playing on the lawn, and it will generate for you. And you might have seen some of these other tools such as Midjourney. I used to play around with that sometimes if I wanted to create a graphic for social media or a book cover or things like that. And Midjourney used to be free, and so what I would do sometimes is, so this is a whole gallery of images that I used to generate with Midjourney, and I would just kind of write a sentence here, a logo of a crazy and happy mother cooking a meal that's on fire in a kitchen with bright colors and a baby, and it would just kind of, just based off that sentence, create these sorts of things, and I could play around and have it start over, but basically the input is just this sort of sentence that you see, and then the output are some of these graphics. And Midjourney is no longer free, but I have been using Photoshop for, I suppose, maybe 3 different purposes. And one purpose is for it to create something from scratch, similar to Midjourney, just to make a book cover or a social media graphic. Or I have been using it a little bit selfishly for audiobook narration. And as you can see here, like this Checkmate book, sometimes we have like a rectangular book cover, and we need to widen it and make it a square shape for audiobooks. And sometimes when you widen it, you can't just add borders, or you can't just add lines. Sometimes you need to expand the image that's already there. And so in this case, we had like a chess piece knocking over another chess piece, and we just expanded the board, and it just kind of filled in the rest. And in this other example here, we have this Truth, Courage, Love, where it was rectangular and there was like sort of an eye, but it was not finished, and then it generated the rest. And then in some of these other cases, like there's this tape measure and it expanded it and things like that. And so that's sort of a usage number 2, right? Usage number 1 was to create a graphic completely out of nothing. Number 2, I like to sometimes like expand an image and then create what's further around it. And then the third and final usage that I have for generative AI is for removing text. If I have an image and I want to remove the text but keep the background that's still there and maybe recreate the text and put it somewhere else, then the generative AI is useful for that. So let me just show you kind of those 3 use cases. And in my case, I went to Adobe Creative Cloud, which I think it's like $60 a month or something, and then you can basically use all of the Adobe products. And when I began using it a few weeks ago, it was only available in the Photoshop beta. So I think I had to search for the apps to get the beta version of Photoshop. And since then, they have announced that the full non-beta of Photoshop still allows you to do it, so it's become more mainstream. But I was stuck a little bit on how to use it. So we're going to go New File, and we're going to create just a new canvas. I guess we'll make this 8,000 by 3,000. And so it made this wide landscape. And so I admit that at first I was kind of stuck. I was like, what do I do? Where do I go? And so here's what we do is we can click on this selection tool here on the top left, and then click into our document and do a Control-A or a Command-A and basically select the whole thing. And once we've selected, then you can go to, I believe it is, let me double check this here. You go to Window and scroll all the way down and make sure this contextual taskbar is checked. They sure don't make it easy, do they? And once you do that, then it will kind of have this floaty thing here that says Generative Fill. And then so whatever you draw this selection and whatever you draw this box as, it will fill it. And so I wonder if I just click on Generative Fill on a blank space, I wonder what it's going to create. I'm a little bit nervous, but it will kind of ease us into this generative AI process. So it takes a few seconds as it's completely unprompted. Who knows what it will fill in? And it's filling in. Beautiful, like a fun landscape. If you don't like what it created, you can click over on this arrow here, and then it will just kind of generate what. So instead there's kind of that abstract background, and then here's the cityscape. And if we go over on this properties area, it kind of has these choices, and we still don't like it, we can click generate again and just creating things. So that's interesting on its own, right? Just out of nowhere, it's just creating some kind of completely made up just landscape with clouds and some kind of city. And this is not a real photograph. This does not exist. It's just creating this on its own. And here we go. So it made this forest and this leaves. But then, see, and so one drawback of generative AI, I will say, is that it cannot do letters correctly. It just comes up as weird alien character looking garbage. But it does drawing and does people well. So I guess what we could do here is we can create another area here and say generative fill. And this time we'll say add birds flying across the sky. And then we'll just fill this in. So imagine if you were making a photo for your social posts, or imagine if you were creating a book cover and you said, I want to have like a mom playing with her son or something like that. There we go. We had the birds, and then over here we can say like, I don't know, generative fill, add 3 lifted pickup trucks, and just see what it creates in that space where we gave it. And the same idea goes here, where you can page through what you don't like, and then you can also see on this layers panel over here that it kind of layers this for us. Let me remove myself. It layers this, so if we don't like what it created, like if we say, well, I don't like those trucks there, you can click on the eyeball and remove those. Or maybe we can say, let me add some different kind of, like a big long semi truck or something like that. And so I guess I like the original. So there you go. So that's kind of how you can get started and play around a little bit with generative AI. But what I said, I was using it for some kind of different purposes. So I am actually going to use this right now to widen a book cover, because what's fun with this is, so like for example, we have this picture of this boy, right? Here's my son, and we can expand. Oh, it was moved or deleted. Well, shucks. I'll open up another photo. So open up our downloads, and we'll have this photo of the boy at the park, while that buys me time on my other screen to save the book cover that I was about to create, but I decided that it would be fun to create this with you. So here's this, and the thing that we're going to demonstrate is how to create the background around it, right? Because we only took a photo of this little area, but what if we were to expand it and have the AI fill in what else there is? And so, I mean, right off the bat, so something I can kind of demonstrate too quickly is I can highlight an area, and then again, because we had window contextual taskbar selected in this generative fill, we could say just remove the boy and keep the grass background. And I believe that's well within the capabilities of the AI to just keep the background there. And so say you have pictures of yourself on vacation and you want to remove the other tourists in the background, I believe that you can do something like this. Just create a box around what you want to remove the foreground from, and it will just fill in the, see, there you go, baby's completely gone. And so it did a good job, and I'm a little nervous because if I click through, it kind of gives us ideas for different types of grass that may be in between. So kind of fun, right? And then, so here's the layer. We can hide it, or you can just do a Control Z or Command Z and kind of undo and get that back. So what we're going to do is go to Image, Canvas Size. This is already pretty huge. So we'll expand the width and we'll expand the height. This is going to be a humongous photo. Oops. And we don't want to the purple background. So let me do a couple things. So let me go over onto the layers, and I will click on the trash can to remove that other thing. And what we'll do here is we'll double click this background layer, and then it will call it layer 0. And now that just changed it from a background layer to a regular layer that we can more easily play with. I'm going to move myself over a little bit there. Okay, so we'll do what we did again. Image, canvas size. Make this 5,000 by 5,000. Just go totally nuts. Okay, so then I will do a Control minus and zoom out a little bit, and then we can just have it fill in the rest of the background, and maybe we'll make it super wide, right? So we'll do width like 10,000 pixels. Maybe I should have just sized the image down, because this will take forever to generate. That's okay though. So we'll just highlight around this. And so let's say we wanted to keep that, but we wanted to fill in the rest. How do we do it? Well, we did use the selection tool. We drew a box, and then you go to select inverse. Okay, select inverse. And it's a little hard to see, but what it's done is it's selected all the area around the boy, but not selected the boy. So we will leave that area alone. And when we click on Generative Fill and just you can give it a sentence, give it a prompt, or not give it a prompt. I assume it's only going to just generate a bunch of grass around, but maybe it will generate some other kids, or maybe it will generate some other, I don't know, trees or shrubs or things like that. We'll see what it creates. And if you don't like what it creates, then you can page through and undo and give it a prompt more to your liking. So just what we expected. And isn't that cool? It created more of the grass all around here, even though these sides don't exist. We did not take a picture. We just took a picture of that middle part. Just out of curiosity, if we click through, okay, so it's other kinds of grass. And then if we added some prompt, then we could say add other like kids and trees all around. And then see how that works, and then we'll actually get to work. We'll actually create a square book cover from a rectangular book cover using generative AI. Now that we've horsed around a little bit, you've understood the concepts and understood some of the things that we click and do in order to kind of make these chess moves and get ourselves towards the result that we want. And this is there we go. So it kind of all these kids don't exist, and AI doesn't always get the faces right. So you can always like highlight this and say remove that kid, or we can page through, and it's kind of spooky, right? Kind of creepy how it just creates everything all around here. So now that we've had a little bit of fun, let me get to some real productivity. So we created this book cover with the hands and the dirt mound and the title, and we want to expand this, right? We want to get this to be a larger cover, and so we're gonna have to be a little tricky with this. So we exported this as a PNG, but I don't believe we have the ability to export the layers. So we might have to recreate the text, or we might have to just only focus on the background. But let's play around, let's experiment, right? Let's not get discouraged. So we saved this cover from Canva, and I'm kind of thinking in my head I might have to just expand the background and then re-import into Canva. That's okay though. So we'll go open, and then save the cover that I just showed you. I thought I saved it. So let me go to Canva. We'll say share download PNG, and then just that front page and download it. Give that a moment to download, and then we'll open it in Photoshop. Is it opening? Okay. And then similarity, we want to make sure it's not a background layer. We go to, is it? Okay, I'm gonna go to canvas size, and then instead of 1600 by 2400, we want to make it a 2400 wide. And then, yeah, I definitely will have to change this in Canva, because a little bit of a techie problem is that the cover in Audible, it will cover up this bottom right corner. But out of morbid curiosity, let's just highlight this and then do a select inverse and then generative fill. And let us see what it can do about this holding hands situation. So generating the rest of it. And wow, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised. The top is fine, the hands are fine. I'm happy with everything except for this bottom part. That's actually really cool. And so I think now that we've played around and had our fun, I think what I'm going to do is go back to where we created this cover, and I will save it, but without the words, and then I will add the words back in. But I mean, I'm pretty impressed, right? We highlighted, did the inverse, and it generated the rest of it. So I'll go to Canva really quick, and then we'll say make a copy, and this will be From Potential to Prosperity audiobook. And then we'll delete that other page, and then we will resize and make this 2400 by 2400. And then, oh, even better. I guess we didn't even need the generative AI to do that. Okay, so because we cheated a little bit, I want to show you one last example. So it looks like in this case, I didn't even need the generative AI, because I can expand that, and I can move that up, and that sort of solves my problem. But if we did not have this option, if we really were stuck, then let me do one last example here. So, and I can actually make it easy, because there's one that comes to mind from recent memory. If we go to my audiobooks folder here. So we were working on, I guess I'll just start from scratch. Okay. I was working on this client's cover named Scott McCrate, Scott McCrate. And he has this cover. Now here I might be completely stuck, because I'm just saying, like, well, there's the waves and there's the scuba diver. How do I do it? So what we do is we do a Google search for get high resolution cover image from Kindle, and we end up with this e-reader Palace page, and then we double click his little ID number from the Amazon page, and we go and download this person's book cover, right? And we save this to our downloads, and then we close this in Photoshop, which we don't need, and we open this graphic in Photoshop again. And then we double click this background layer, make it a normal layer. We go to image canvas size, and right now its height is 2560 and its width is 1707. Let's make it 2560 and expand the sides. And then also, me personally, I like to put a 3000 by 3000 size. So I go image, image size, and I'm even just going to blow up like the whole size of the image here. So a gigantic image. Okay, so I can kind of control minus and zoom out. And so there's a couple of things I want to do here. I want to expand the size, and I also want to move these two pieces of text further up, but there's no layers. It's kind of stuck that way until we use generative AI. So I think I'll do the bottom text first. And so what we can do is we can use our selection tool again. We can just kind of highlight that and then say type match font. And this will identify the font that we were using here. And it's Garamond regular. So then we can click on that and say OK. And then go to the text tool, and it's Garamond. And we can just kind of click on this text, and we can type in, instead of this lorem ipsum, it says frozen, Scott's a McCrite. And then I believe this is stuck in all caps mode somewhere, so we can uncheck that. And then reduce the size down a little bit, maybe a little bigger, maybe, oh, that's too big, so we'll try like 130, and then allow us to bold it, and then it's blue, so we want to do an eyedropper and make it the same closest shade of black as this top text, do an alt backspace, and make the text black, and then use this move tool and then just kind of position that here. And then we can go to the layers and drag it to the plus and duplicate the layer and then move it over here. Switch back to our text tool, the T, and then how I rewired my brain to do the impossible. Okay, so that takes care of one of our steps here that we've kind of, I guess we can, the final step will be to reposition that one thing at a time. So now let's go back to our selection tool and highlight the text and then generative fill, and we'll say remove the text, leaving the background the same. And hopefully that works without a hitch. And then we can do the same on the right side. I think we might have been able to do it both at once, but let's not get too cocky. Okay, that takes care of that. And then highlight that, generative fill, remove the background, or remove the text, leave the background the same. Generate that. Generating. Uh-oh. So it didn't quite do what we wanted. So I don't like any of those. So let's try to generate some more. This can't be easy, can it? And then once that little area is done, then we will fill out the sides of this. See, it adds text. Love. I don't want any of that. So let me undo. Let me try again. Remove the text. Maybe we were too wordy and it confused it. Okay, so now let's go, and I'm not sure if my text layers will affect things, but I will hide those just to be safe. And then I will highlight around the area. And one thing that I hope that you're noticing is that I don't highlight the whole thing. I leave a little bit around the edges. That way it does kind of a clean transition. So then I highlighted that. I said select inverse, and then let's see what it generates. And hopefully it will just widen what's there, and hopefully it won't need a lot of crazy instructions. But you can see that what we do is we highlight the box, and then we select the inverse, so that's where it tells it to leave that area alone and expand the rest. So, didn't see what I mean? How it adds weird letters, but we're getting there. There we go. And so the second version did it without the weird letters added, and the third version had weird stuff. So we just kind of click through, and the second version is what we wanted. Then I will add these text layers back, and now we have some more room to breathe. And now we can just kind of position that one there, and then position this one, and you can see there's like the guide, so it helps us to line things up the way that we want. And line it up. And so there you go. And then we can save that and use that as our square cover. So you can see the power of generative AI, the kind of default usage that you would imagine is to use it as a mid-journey kind of usage where you say, generate a landscape for me, right? You say something like, let me make a new document, and let me make this in 1600 by 900, and you can click on create. Oops, I wanted to do the other way. I wanted to do my mistake. I can create a new thing, and maybe you want the width to be 900 and the height to be 1600, and I want to make my book cover, and I might say to generate, and I want to say create a beautiful summer landscape with a cabin, or maybe a autumn landscape, the cabin, trees, and orange falling leaves, right? And so you can imagine that you can use this generative AI to create your background in this way, and then if there's pieces of it that you don't like, you can highlight smaller boxes and generate new things in there, and then add in your own text on top. We can page through. We can say, here's what I have right here, and then maybe on the maybe in the meadow here, we can say Generative Fill. We can say add kids playing a baseball game or something, and you can do that. Or maybe you don't like the cabin that it built and you want it to substitute a different cabin in there. You just kind of inch it along, and then you saw earlier there's this T on the side, there's this text tool. Here we go, there's the kids playing baseball, and then maybe here for the generative fill, we can say change to a different cabin. And so that's the default go-to usage for generative AI that you might imagine. But then the kind of more interesting usage is to expand and see, we can just page through and choose the kind of building we want. We can expand the landscape that we want. If we have a photo and it's kind of cut off, or it's a cover, we want to have more in the background, you can just expand the canvas size. You use the selection tool and draw that box, then select the inverse, and then use this generative AI and then create what you have on the outside. So that is generative AI with Photoshop, and the secret, the trick, was to go to Window, Contextual Taskbar, and then it adds this floating thing where then you can have this generative AI and give it either generate on its own, see what it comes up with, page through, or then add a prompt. Hope you learned something. Hope you had fun like I did by just having fun using AI to generate your images for you. Robert Plank from Graphic Dashboard and DFY Narration. Take it easy.